Chapter 10 Ultramarathons. The first year of our son's chemotherapy treatment, I decided to raise money for Click Sergeant, a charity in the UK that supports children and families affected by childhood cancer. They were a big support to us throughout his treatment, and I wanted to do something, anything, to show my appreciation of the work they did. I laugh at 5k and 10k events. I had seen the growing popularity of 5km and 10km charity events, and being the idiot, no cross that kind of person I am, decided I wanted to do something different to the majority. Incidentally, this is an excellent approach to take with marketing. A few online searches later, I discovered something that excited and terrified me in equal measure: a 100km ultramarathon. I knew immediately that this was exactly the type of fundraising event I was looking for. 100 kilometres. That's a bit harder to ignore than the standard 5k and 10k events, isn't it? Yep, that was big enough to stop people in their tracks. The company running this event, Action Challenge, offered a number of ultramarathons throughout the year and in different locations. I decided to sign up for their London to Brighton 100km ultramarathon, as it meant my wider family, most of whom lived in Surrey, would all be able to come and cheer me on. Now, I am somebody who finds it hard to motivate myself unless I have a definite goal. As soon as I signed up to walk the 100km to raise money for Click Sergeant, my brain switched instantly into training mode. When I signed up to the ultramarathon, I knew that I wasn't going to run it. Instead, I would aim to walk it all in one go without stopping overnight. To me, that would be a real achievement, particularly with all we were going through as a family at the time. My therapy. My training walks became my therapy, a way for me to switch off temporarily from the pressures, emotions, stresses and sadness that often threatened to engulf me during our son's treatment. Those training walks became windows of opportunity and helped me to feel that I was finally doing something practical to say thank you to Click Sergeant and the staff we saw each day at the hospital. Once I'd signed up to the 100km ultramarathon, I was deeply touched when one of my brothers, my brother-in-law and a friend all also signed up to walk it with me as a way of showing solidarity in such a testing time. My training walks progressed from 1 hour to 2 hours, then 3 to 4 hours. Before long I was walking for much longer periods without too many aches and pains. They came later. I would walk from our house to the children's hospital, spend the day with our son, then walk back home again. I timed my walks to fit around our daughter's school day, our son's different hospital admissions and treatments, and my work commitments. Somehow we managed to make it work, although looking back on it now, I'm not sure how. As my body adapted and adjusted to the increased training I was doing, my walks became longer. The longest training walk I did before the event itself was around 40 kilometres, constrained by available time from doing anything longer than that. The skin on my feet toughened up, so I was hoping to avoid blisters during the event. 1 down, let's do 2 more. The actual event itself seemed to come around much sooner than anticipated, and sure enough, the training paid off. Joined by my brother, brother-in-law and friend, we walked 100 kilometres non-stop, starting in the morning, walking all day and through the night, finishing around 7 a.m. the next morning. We were all tired, both emotionally and physically, but we'd done it, and had raised a good amount of money for charity in the process. Fast forward a few weeks, and I had apparently been bitten by the ultramarathon bug. I decided I'd like to do the London to Brighton 100km again the following year, and my wife wanted to do it with me. So we both signed up for the following year's event. I decided I wanted to try to complete 2 ultramarathons, so also signed up to the Cotswold Way 100km challenge, which was being held about 6 weeks after the London to Brighton 100km. I figured that 6 weeks between the events would be plenty of time for me to recover. Boy, was I wrong. Over the next few months, my wife and I somehow managed to juggle work, family life, our son's ongoing chemotherapy and training walks with one another. Again, looking back on it now, I really have no idea how we managed to do this. I'll say it was largely due to my wife's awesomeness. The second ultramarathon. Before we knew it, my wife and I were on the starting line for the London to Brighton 100km. Fast forward 20 hours and we arrived in Brighton the next morning, hand in hand, weary but content. It was lovely walking with my wife on the second ultramarathon. We had been, and still were, going through such a lot together as a family, with the ups and downs of our son's treatment. Being able to walk with one another, encouraging and supporting each other as needed, was truly special. Unfortunately, my wife did end up with blisters that were so nasty she needed several trips to the podiatrist. Her feet eventually recovered, but it did take a while. Recovery, I missed you. After that London to Brighton 100 kilometres, I had 6 weeks before I would be walking the next ultramarathon, the Cotswold Way Challenge. I was tired and needed a lot of time to recover and re-energise, both physically and mentally. I didn't really appreciate just how long it takes to fully recover from walking 100 kilometres. A mark of how tired I was is that I didn't manage any training walks until the week leading up to the Cotswold Way Challenge. Maybe not the best preparation. And so, 6 weeks later, I was standing in the historic city of Bath and about to cross the starting line for the Cotswold Way Challenge. Almost as soon as I started the event, I knew that I was in trouble. I felt still so physically tired that every step from a 2-kilometre mark onwards was exhausting. I felt like I was walking through treacle with weights on my boots. Oh dear. Due to my tiredness, I hadn't looked very carefully at the terrain for this walk. After all, I figured that one 100 kilometre would be just like another. It turns out I was wrong about this. While the London to Brighton 100 kilometres is fairly flat, with only one big hill, Ditchling Beacon, towards the end, the Cotswold Way Challenge was much hillier. In fact, it was very, very hilly. I hadn't focused on hill walking during any of my previous training, and my legs still weren't fully recovered from the previous ultramarathon. Long story short, there was no way my body was capable of getting me round 100 kilometres of hilly countryside. I struggled through 50 kilometres, but then decided to withdraw from the event. Even though I was disappointed, I knew that I was likely to cause serious injury if I continued to force myself around the route. It was a tough call to make, but it was absolutely the right choice. What had gone wrong? In the last chapter, we looked at the importance of recovery. That chapter was written with my own harsh experience in the Cotswold Way Challenge firmly in my mind. Recovery, proper, full recovery, is crucial to performance. I had not given myself anywhere near enough time to recover from one 100-kilometre ultramarathon before trying to do another one. My body let me know pretty quickly though. I also hadn't been properly prepared for the amount of hill walking required. With most of my training being done on fairly flat terrain, I just didn't have enough power in my legs to get up and down so many hills. I shall come back stronger! Disappointed with having to drop out the Cotswold Way Challenge, I plotted my ultramarathon return for the following year. I deliberately chose the one that was regarded as the toughest one action challenge run, the Jurassic Coast 100 kilometres. Running along the south coast of England between Bournemouth and Bridport, this route had the highest total elevation of all their challenges. In short, it was brutally hilly. Now, I like to try to learn from my mistakes. Sometimes it takes me longer than I would like, but I will usually get there in the end. I knew that to complete this challenge successfully, I would need to do a lot of hill walking during my training. So for the next 6 months, I deliberately sought out the steepest hills I could get to and then walked up and down them as much as possible. I drove into Wales and walked up Pen y Fan a number of times. I drove to Linton and walked along the south west coast path, pushing myself up hills far steeper than I could find in Bristol. Hill walking is both awful and exhilarating, horrible and great. At the start of my training, I was out of breath and struggling very quickly. As my body adapted and my legs became stronger, I was able to push myself harder as I walked up the hills. I started lifting weights, focusing on squats and deadlifts to build up strength in my legs. I did a lot of core exercises to strengthen my abdominal and back muscles. I did countless pull-ups and press-ups to strengthen my upper body. By the time the Jurassic Coast 100 kilometre challenge came around, I was in the best shape of my life. Even though I knew it would be tough, I felt ready. I'd put the hard work in for months. Now it was time for the payoff. The price and the prize. As I started the challenge, I knew pretty early on that my training had been a massive help. As I strode up each hill, walking poles and legs in perfect harmony, I told myself this was what all my training was for. This is the payoff. For every prize we strive for, a price must be paid. The price may be hours of weightlifting or hill walking, late nights studying old copywriting books, or early mornings spent learning about SEO or sales techniques. Whatever the price is, the price must always be paid in full. As I walked the route, I noticed that most people taking part in the challenge would arrive at the foot of a hill and instantly slow down as they started uphill. Many of them stopped completely halfway up, sitting down to catch their breath and admire the view. It was very easy to see the people who had put in the training and those who hadn't, to see those who had paid the price in advance. I kept the same pace regardless of whether I was going uphill, downhill, or was on the flat. My pace was consistent, each kilometre completed within 30 seconds of another. I was well prepared, but I would be lying if I told you that it was easy. It was still hard work, particularly from 80 kilometres onwards. A pebble beach towards the end, darn you Chesil Beach, was hard, but I did it. I had deliberately trained for months to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's the same in business. Nothing changes until you step out of your comfort zone. If you're happy where you are and how your business is, it can be easy to relax and to stop pushing forward. And that's fine. But there may be a competitor who is pushing hard, who is deliberately stepping outside of their comfort zone. How long will you stay ahead of them? If hills appear in your business, will you be able to get up them? At what pace? Are you preparing your business today for challenges tomorrow? In business, as in life, we constantly need to move forward. We need to push ourselves, to challenge ourselves, to try new things. We may fail, or we could succeed. As I close this chapter, I'll leave you with some questions to consider. What have you done today to improve your business? How about this week? This month? The last 6 months? The last year? What will you do tomorrow? Are any business goals you have set comfortable and fairly attainable without too much effort? Or are they big goals where failure is possible?